Or then you know. Alright, I'm Caitlin Groves. I'm the head softball coach at Western Nebraska. I'm also an instructor and I don't know what else I do right now. An advisor. I was also a student at Western Nebraska, and through my experience at Western Nebraska, through my experiences as a coach, I've learned a little bit about dealing with conflict, and conflict is what we're going to talk about today, but by no means do I feel like I'm a complete expert on this. There's full-on conferences and conventions for people to go to on conflict, so please don't take what I take as say, or the examples I give you as the only way to go about it, because there are other methods. This is just what I've found in my experiences and through research and listening to other people talk that seems to be pretty effective. And we're also going to talk a little bit about you guys and how you guys can better deal with your own conflict when it comes up in your lives based on your conflict styles. So my question for you guys, what is conflict? Do you guys have an actual working definition of conflict?
I would say disagreement with the group of people, or just like another person, or with a concept or idea. Like you can disagree, and it would be like a conflict of ideas.
Okay. Yeah. Same thing. Mm-hmm. So, kind of the way I think of conflict is any time that somebody's got a need that's not being met by another party. So, you could have a conflict with a teacher because they're not allowing you to turn in the paper. Well, you need to turn that paper in to get a grade, but the teacher says it's late. There's conflict there. You could have a conflict with your roommate because your need is that the music gets turned down. Their need is that the music stays up because they've got something going on in their lives that they want to listen to louder music. You need to quiet because you need to study. Both needs aren't being met. So when it comes to conflict resolution, you're trying to meet and satisfy those needs in a way that you can manage. So it might be compromising, where you guys meet in the middle. Or it could be forcing somebody to take your side. You just keep turning the music up until your roommate leaves, or it changes. You can bargain and try to say, well, if you do this today, tomorrow we'll have it quiet. What are some ways that you guys have dealt with conflict in the past?
Well, like as an array, I have dealt with women's conflict before.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I mean personally, I had a conflict with my brother-in-law. Just like some personal conflicts with people, I would say. I'm sure like everybody meets them.
Okay.
Sometimes with my work schedule, if I have stuff going on through WNCC or family events that come up, if my work can't give me the time off, or it's a certain situation I've had.
Okay. How'd you deal with it?
Most times they're pretty good about like working around it, or I find other people to cover my kid.
Okay. Have you dealt with any conflict? We're talking about conflict right now.
Like recently?
Anytime. Or recently, because it's fresh in your mind.
Like, does it have to be like a school related or just like anything?
Anything.
Probably, yeah, with work. Because like I just got like promoted, and like the people that I work with, like they're still my age. So since like they don't kind of like listen since I'm like their age,
Yeah.
so they don't take like that seriously. So it's kind of hard to like get everyone to work together like correctly and just to act right, kind of.
How do you go about trying to resolve those issues of conflict?
I just try to talk to them and tell them that I'm like being serious and that we just like it's not a time and place for like.
And age is a huge discrepancy. My very first coaching job, I was 23. My teammates, I had a couple that were 24. So they were older than I was, but I was put in a situation where I was in charge of them.
Yeah.
I was in charge of their academics, I was in charge of scheduling, I was in charge of parts of practice, and they're looking at me like, who are you? Like, and it was bad because they played with me. They were people that I had played with, my teammates, my peers, and now all of a sudden I'm put in a situation where we can no longer go hang out together because now I'm in a position of leadership, in a position of, to an extent, power, if that makes sense, because I am supposed to be managing them and I'm supposed to be helping them. So my role changed completely. So they could see you as a peer, but in reality, they don't see you as a superior in a sense, because you are at a higher level than them in your career. The paper's in front of you guys. Will you guys take a few minutes and fill those things out? It should take about 5 minutes. You're gonna fill out the front side, and you're just gonna answer the questions. 1, never do this, to 5, usually do this.
Use the sign that she wants.
And then on the back, you'll score yourself.
What's a quarter?
So here's a question. Do you take high importance or low importance to your goals?
Hi.
Okay. And then your relationships, low, moderate, or high? Okay, so you want high relationships and high goal achieving, right?
Mhm.
So that would make you an owl. So if you look at this paper, which you guys don't have this paper. I didn't make you copies of it because I didn't want you to think about it before you started doing that paper. The owl is confronting. So when you have high importance on your relationships and high importance on your own goals, you're the owl and you're confronting. They view conflicts and problems to be solved and seek solutions that achieve both their own and the other person's goals. So like at work, when you have a goal that you've been given that says you've got to meet this quota or you've got to do X amount of things that night, and people aren't necessarily having that same goal, you still care about those people. You still want them to be your friends in a sense. Like, you want to be on good terms with your coworkers, but at the same time you still have to make sure the goals are being met. So you care about those relationships and you care about your personal goals. Make sense?
Mhm.
So that's why you're confronting. You're high and high. What'd you score highest on? Okay. But based on what you guys told me, is that not an accurate depiction of who you are?
Well, pretty sure because my confronting is 2 points more than compromising and moving.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I would spend maybe a little more time or more deep in the question, I will get lower. They would probably be around the same.
Okay.
But I know that I'm stubborn.
But you're also thinking of confrontation as just walking up to somebody and being like, hey, I heard you said this about me, and being like all in their face. That's not exactly what confronting means. Confronting means to an extent that people want a better relationships and want a better solution to what's going on. So they're going to be upfront with you and they're going to say, how can we fix this? Like, this is what's going on. Why is this going on? Let's find a solution to why. If you're mad at me and you have something to say, then let's figure out why you're saying that so I can be better, so our relationship's better.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you guys thought you were going to be the turtle? You're going to be withdrawing.
I didn't. I knew I would be probably either
Okay.
confronting or forcing something like that.
Okay, you kind of said that you thought you would be withdrawing. Why did you say you thought you would be withdrawing?
Well, just because I don't want to think of myself as a confrontational person. Apparently I am, but I mean, I guess I can, because if you think about it in certain situations, like if I don't agree with what someone else has to say or something, like I'll put my opinion in, or I'll make note that that's not what I agree with, or that it's not okay. Like, I just won't sit there and take away someone else has to say if I don't agree with their opinion.
Okay.
So I mean, I guess that can be part of the reason why I got confronting as my highest score. So, yeah.
Withdrawing just means that you don't believe there's a way to fix the problem, and it's not worth trying. You would rather just go be by yourself than have relationships or be able to work towards your goals. If you're at a job and you get fired, and it's your dream job, but you didn't meet a deadline once and you got fired. Are you gonna just sit back and quit doing that? No. So you don't withdraw. You're not a withdrawer. So when it comes to conflict, if there's an issue going on between you and someone else, you're not just gonna step back and be like, well, this is unfortunate that I've just lost this friend, but it's not worth my time or my energy to try and fix it because there's no solution. Okay? Forcing. You thought you were gonna be forcing, Daniel?
I would guess so, but like I'm pretty sure I misunderstood a couple of questions, like
Okay.
the meaning, but
What do
I
you
have
guess?
a higher score than in anything. In like my forcing and confronting made pretty good, like way
Yeah.
higher. So I'm wrong if it was.
What'd you guys score on forcing?
I got 21.
I got 18 roll, and then my compromising is 19.
It was like 22 in forcing, compromising, and smoothing on 27, and confronting is 29.
Okay.
That's bad.
Forcers are like sharks. Okay, sharks go out and they just
Get it?
do what they want. They're gonna eat to survive and they don't really care about anything else. They're in it for their goals and their goals only. So in conflicts, people that are forcers are thinking there's a winner and a loser in this. There's not a fix. There's either I'm going home happy or you're going home happy. There's no both parties leaving happy. There's no intermediate solution. It's just I won, you lose, leave me alone. They care a lot about their goals and not a lot about the relationships. Which from what you guys said in this room, the relationships are important. So I don't expect those to be super high. But at certain points, you're going to feel like a forcer. There was a point in my life where I cut people out of my life because of my goals and what I wanted to do. I had a bunch of friends that got into the wrong stuff. And there was conflict there. Like, what are you doing? Why are you making these decisions? So I had to choose, was I going to be like, hey, it's okay, let's all go hang out and I'll watch you guys do this and I'll be part of it, or am I going to be a forcer and say, this is unfortunate that you guys want to do this, but if I can't change your minds, I'm out. I'm going to force this situation. I'm taking a step back. We're no longer friends. You guys do you. I'm going to do me, but my goals are more important than what you guys are doing. So it doesn't necessarily mean like, no, this is what I think. This is how it is. It doesn't mean that, okay? It just means that you are making a decision that your values and your goals are of more importance at that moment than what other people want to do and what society is telling you should do. So you scored a 22 at work. Do you sometimes get mad at your coworkers and say, no, like we have to get this done, end of story? At that point in time, your job and your career and what you're doing, your goals are more important than them having the greatest time of their lives. So you become a forcer. That's why you've got a 22. It's not because you just walk in there and say, no, this is my job. We're going to do it my way. If you want my job, have it. But until then, shut up. It doesn't work like that. You're a forcer because you've got a goal, you're being told what to do, and you're going to get it done. And it's your job to make sure it does. And if it doesn't, it's going to come back on you. You're going to lose your job. Not going to be able to pay for school, so on and so forth. Make sense? Who got smoothing? Who had high scores in smoothing?
7.
Okay.
I had a 14.
I don't know there.
I got 25.
Okay.
Mind me stepping down this direction.
Was that your second highest?
No, it was actually confronting, compromising, and then smoothing.
Okay. So smoothers, they just like to smooth things over. They want everybody to be happy and things to run as easy as possible. They don't like the confrontations occurring. They don't like the conflicts occurring. They don't want people to damage relationships. So there's going to become a time where it's like, hey, no, really, it's okay. Like, you don't agree with it, but you would rather just say, it's all right, and you just take it, than be like, no, that was wrong. Why are you doing that? Does that make sense? So Daniel leaves. I'm irritated by it. And he comes back, and I'm like, hey, it's okay, welcome back. No worries. Like, we're gonna smooth the situation over instead of allowing it to escalate and actually become true conflict. So, Megan, why do you say you're a smoother?
Because I value the relationship totally. So I'd rather just everybody be happy, like let's work it out, and then just keep going.
She is.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm a smoother in certain parts because I'm like, don't worry about it, I'll just do it. Like, I know you didn't have time to do it, I'll get to it. Like, my plate is stacked high enough, and then I just add something more because I would rather get along smoothly with people than be like, well, why didn't you get this done? Like, at that point, it doesn't matter. I'll find time to get it done, and I'll just take it. So, to a regard, I'm a smoother because I would much rather have people around me happy than be like, but you're totally leaving me hanging here.
But I think at a certain point, smoothers, they take on so much, they just keep taking it and they keep taking it. At one point, I think a smoother will blow.
Yeah.
Eventually. I think that happens.
And then
For sure.
it
I see
becomes
that
like-
happening with me. It takes a lot for me to blow, but I do get there.
Like once you escalate it.
Once
it's
you-
like,
yeah.
guys,
You can only take it for so long, you know?
And a lot of times what causes smoothers to escalate and blow is being taken advantage of. Because people will see like, oh, well, I'm doing this for Megan, and if I don't get to it, I don't get to it. She'll be okay with it. Well, no, Megan won't be okay with it, but she's going to tell you she is because she would much rather you and her be okay than for her to be like, what the heck, dude? So, I mean, from a certain standpoint, you've got to make sure that when you have high smoothing capabilities and you are a smoother when dealing with conflict, that you don't just take so much on that you are allowing yourself to be pushed over and buried. You've got to have the ability to stand up and say, no, this is what's happening. And she does that. It just takes a certain point for her to say, what are you guys doing? Like, no. I see it in intramurals. She gets on people all the time. Compromising. Okay? All of you have high compromising scores. I had high compromising scores. What is compromising?
pretty much like meeting approximately in the middle of the conflict and like getting both sides as satisfied as possible without like hurting another side more than another.
It's kind of like at work for you. You can't be there because you've got a school conflict, and you communicate to them that you've got this, and you guys find a compromising role of find someone else to work for you, and then you find a compromise with that person that says, hey, if you can cover for me tonight, I'll take your shift this weekend. And you find a way to make both ends happy. So compromisers, it's a huge thing to be a compromiser and have a high score in compromising, because it's the hardest thing to do. It's hard to say, well, I value my goals and my relationships, but I also value you and yours. And that takes a mature person to actually sit back and say, I see it my way, but I also see where you're coming from. And there's got to be some give and take. Relationships, whether they're emotional, like you're dating someone, you're married to somebody, or they're just friends, takes a ton of compromising, because you might not want to go see the movie that your significant other wants to go see. You might think it's the dumbest thing ever. But you go, and you smile, and you leave, and you're like, that was great! And it's not lying, you're literally just compromising the situation. It gets much easier just to enjoy some things that your significant others like than to cause issues. So you compromise. It might not be your favorite thing, but it's gonna be your second favorite thing because they enjoyed it. So. Or at work, you compromise. Like, work is the hardest place to compromise sometimes because you all have your own agendas. Like, some people are there because it's a check.
Yeah.
They're there for the money. Some people are there for the experience and being able to put it on a resume to move up the ladder and be able to do more things. Other people are there because someone told them they had to have a job and they're just there. The money's not worth it, the experience isn't worth it, there's no real goal in sight. So it's hard. Everybody's got their own thing, so you compromise. And if you found yourself like in manager situations ever, or in even RA situations, where you've got to delegate tasks, and you compromise what you delegate to who based on their level of sincerity in their jobs. I find myself doing that in my team. Sometimes, like I'm like, okay, this kid is very serious and very focused and this is what they want to do. I can give her this assignment. Like, she can get this done for me. And then I'm like, oh, this kid's just here to kind of hang out, get a degree, not really play softball, but to be here. She can be in charge of this, because it's not super important that it gets done, but she'll get to it at some point. Because sometimes you don't have time to, like, you don't want to be micromanagers. You want to be able to give people assignments and then walk away. And when compromising, you have to kind of see the levels of dedication in certain aspects in order to not create conflict. If you show up late every day to my class, and I'm like, I'm going to make you in charge of taking roll, I am setting up conflict between you and I. Because you're not going to be on time, then I'm going to be mad at you for not being on time, and then everybody else isn't going to be on time because you're the one that takes roll. So I set up that conflict because I won't compromise what I need done based off the needs of everybody else. And then confronting, like I said, you really try to balance your needs and your relationships in order to make them better. So confronting really doesn't mean you just run up and confront someone. And because confronting we think of as this like just hard and direct and kind of rude, right? When you think of people that are confrontational, you just think of rude people. But in this regard, when you think of confronting someone, it's literally to better the situation and not to create more drama. Because when I think of confrontational people, I hate confrontation. But I am the most confrontational person you'll ever meet. Because if something's wrong, or I don't agree with it, I'm either A, gonna find out why you think that, so I can understand, so then I can compromise, because then at least I see your side. Because you're not wrong, I'm not right, we just don't see it eye to eye. So I might say, seriously, Megan, why are we doing this? Like, this is, like, explain to me why this is happening right now. Megan will give me a response, and I'm like, that makes sense. I don't agree with it, but I mean, it makes sense. So confronting doesn't mean you just rush into a situation and start yelling at somebody and screaming. It means that you are deliberate in your approach and you are looking for a way to better the relationship, better the situation, and have an outcome that's suitable for both parties. So it's kind of all of them except for withdrawing meshed into one. Questions on any of this? I know that was a lot of information at a short period of time. Does it help you understand kind of how you deal with conflict? So how do you see yourself dealing with conflict in the future?
Well, I'm kind of similar with your situation. Like, there are certain situations where I'm like, I will not be able to find a compromise. There's like, just like, you know, that moment where I'll be like, no, like, this is like how it needs to be done, and then this period of time, this is how it must be done, you know? But in other situations, like, I would be able to find a compromise. I would say that it depends on the priorities of it. Like, you know, if it's like a deadline or something, you know, and another person is just like, yeah, we'll just like, you know, get it done later or something, I'm like, no, like, this must be done, like, now, you know. But if it's like, I don't know, like, we need to do this, like, in like half a year or something, then yeah, and like, we don't meet so far, but I was like, yeah, we can, like, you know, work it out throughout this period of time and then like find a compromise and solution, you know. So, but I wouldn't say that like I'm always forcing, but like I kind of started getting like understanding that if I disagree, it's hard for me to overcome it, but like thankfully I do it. Like sometimes like I'll overcome myself and go for that compromise. So.
How would I deal with conflict in the future? Well, yeah, it's like kind of like Daniel, like it's hard for me to compromise when it doesn't agree with my schedule or in certain situations. But I guess I'll learn to hear the other person's side more, because I'm normally just always like confronting first rather than like trying to be more compromising, and so that's probably something I should work on.
Also understand, guys, like, compromising isn't always the best solution. kind of like in the situation of me removing myself from my friends. Well, where would I be right now if I would have stuck with that group of friends?
Probably not.
Like-
Currently.
I probably would be in jail or prison. Like, 2 of them are in prison. Like, to a certain extent, like, if I would have compromised and been like, okay, you guys do it, but I'll hang out. I'm still there. I'm still subject to all the punishments there. So, you both kind of lean towards the side, and I'm not saying you're wrong, like, compromising is a great way to resolve some conflict, but when you're thinking about how to deal with it in the future, make sure you still stand your ground. You don't have to always be like, it's okay. Like, what if we just do this instead? Then you get your way, I get my way. Sometimes you have to say, no, this is not happening this way. This is totally wrong. Either it's this way or no way, I'm out. So, totally, if you guys can address that in a compromising way to value those relationships, but don't put yourself in a situation that conflicts allows your values to descend or your values to be not respected by you. Because we each have our own values, we each have our own like core covenants that are important to us, but when you think about resolving conflict, it's not always about making sure you can walk away hugging the other person. You've got to first take into consideration how important is that to you, how will it affect you, and where does it go from here. Does that make sense? Okay, sorry, I kind of jumped in there, but
Oh, no, it's fine. Just like how you said. And then, just like to deal with it in the future, like just to focus like on what's important and like listen to like what's important to them. And then just finding just that midpoint of like seeing and like focusing, well, which way is it better to go with? And just seeing like, okay, but if things need to be done, then that's a priority, so it has to get done. Like, it just, in a, like, the correct way that you both can understand, instead of just like putting things off to the side.
and that's definitely a key thing, is making sure you're listening as well. You're gonna have your own opinions, but making sure you're listening to their needs as well as your own needs will help you determine where you go from that. Whether you're gonna force the situation, whether you're just gonna withdraw yourself from the situation, because sometimes that is the right answer. Sometimes you have to withdraw and give somebody a minute to form their own thoughts in order to function. Or are you gonna compromise? Or are you just gonna confront the situation head on and come to a solution? But definitely take into account, like, you've gotta listen. In any confrontational situation or situation of conflict, you've gotta take a step back, calm your own emotions, focus on your stress, take your stress down a notch, and then be able to listen to both sides. Listen to one, what you're feeling in your own emotions, and then listen to the other person, what they're seeing and feeling as well. Because if you just react based on what you're seeing, you're never gonna truly come to a resolution. Any questions, any thoughts, any comments? Good.